Last time we checked, Ishmael was looking increasingly deranged as she accepted the offer of Captain Ahab, who had similar business to her and a damned dozen. Then we saw some visions of the past involving Ishmael and her former crew. Then Dante received another vision of Ishmael's past. Yes, it appeared before them, where Ishmael wanted to ask Queequeg, what was she doing? Ishmael observed what Queequeg used to spend some nights doing in crushing loneliness, in unbearable pain. She said, in the corner of a dark, dark room, she looked down at her arms with a small dagger. A dagger that's normally used for cutting harpoon ropes, but she also used it for cutting into her arms, as if she was carving something out, or at least trying to. Queequeg said, "This is Price." Ishmael peered closer. Her body was covered with countless strange tattoos. Over them were scars of old and gnashed wounds, cuts as though to hide the tattoos drawn on her skin. Ishmael asked her if she did this to herself. Queequeg answered, "She did." Ishmael asked why. Queequeg answered, "Because of shame. Because the tattoos, she engraved them herself." Ishmael pleaded with her not to do that, offering to come with her to go to a place that could erase her tattoos. There's got to be one out there, at one of their nests, again pleading with her not to hurt herself like this. Queequeg told her, "Her tattoos, tattooed in a special way, so no normal way to erase, and even if there was, she wouldn't erase like that." Ishmael asked why. Queequeg told her, "No way to be free from past." Ishmael knew that on a whaling ship, any discussion of the crew's past was like an unspoken taboo, as the past is something that they often run away from, washing the past clean in the waves. Either that or throw themselves against the waves in their desperate need for money. Queequeg told Ishmael she already knew she come from the middle. Ishmael suspected that when she saw her tattoos. Ishmael knew that the middle never forgets. All in the backstreets know the story. It might seem like a tall tale, but it's not one to casually laugh off. Once, a child bumped into someone and spilled ice cream onto his clothes. This person, whose clothes were ruined, comforted the crying child and sent that child on his way home. Yes, this unfortunately was an officer of the middle, and those clothes were his favourite set. That child's family was never seen again. I suspect that if a child ruins a member of the middle's outfit, the punishment is to either kill their family or to abduct them for slave labor to make them work to death. Those are the only two grim possibilities I can think of. Well, it wouldn't surprise me, as based on what we've seen so far, the middle are that petty. Yes, it might seem like dark humor, seen as baseless urban legends. But not this tale. For a start, we're talking about a star of the city, not an urban legend. As the middle really is like that. Yeah. They're really that petty and immature, to the point where they'd kill all those involved in stealing hair salon coupons, regardless of if they were aware of what one of them did or not. Ishmael spoke of the middle that she's heard of. Queequeg was silent at this point. Ishmael told her that she knew that the middle would accept anyone into their fold, but she's also heard that once you're a part of them, they'll never let you go. Queequeg confirmed this, saying, "Yes, the middle remembers. The middle never forgets. Never. So, can't leave." So they captured her. They said to her to really leave, erase everything of the middle from her. If not, they catch her again. Her tattoo is the middle's brand, so she cut up the brand. Have to. Her speech, also touched by the middle, so she went to doctor to cut up her tongue, to cut up her brain, to break herself. Well, that explains why she speaks as if she's a version of the She-Hulk that's more like her cousin. As she gave herself selective brain damage and scarred her tongue. And it's also revealed that the middle have a way of making strength augmentation tattoos that can't be removed by normal means. Ishmael didn't like this. Queequeg continued by saying that she ran again. Ishmael then said that even after she lost her speech, even after she cut up her whole body to erase her tattoos, they're still coming after her? Seeing this as too high a price. Queequeg told that's not true. Back then, she was a maggot. Ishmael saw this as too harsh, even as a metaphor. Queequeg was crawling in filth, thinking filth was everything, thought filth was the world, though she thought she knew the world. They wanted to make her big sister, so she killed and killed and killed, not because of orders. Killed with her own hands, because she wanted to, because she wanted respect as big sister. Ishmael said no. They're all in their cocoons. Soon, they'll break out of their shells and be born again. Queequeg wanted to know what she meant by born again. Ishmael confirmed this. Once their voyage was over, they'll go find it together. A way to break out of their cocoons. Queequeg asked, "Oh." Ishmael didn't know. It's why she wanted to go find it with her, together. Queequeg said that it's first time she heard Ishmael saying she don't know. Ishmael was silent at this, thinking that's how they started looking beyond the voyage. Yes, each of the fingers seems to have different standards with recruitment. I suspect that the thumb likely recruits those that actually impresses them. The index recruits those that the prescripts choose. Well, considering that Jan Vismok was given a prescript telling him to become a messenger, that's likely the case. The ring... The ring recruits those with good enough artistic ability, while the middle recruits any that wishes to join them. The only catch being that once you join them, as long as you have something of the middle on you, you can't leave. I'm scared to think what the Pinky are like, how they recruit their numbers. Starbuck then spoke of Kraken Ports, the future home of his own seafood grill joints. He saw a nice place during their last voyage. Ishmael accused him of just copying that one popular place from Marlin Ports, which he denied. Pip wanted to be rich. He wanted to be landlord, as they make tons of money. Starbuck plans for Pip to be his dishwasher, based on how he scrapes the oil off the ship. Pip has other ideas. Starbuck would rent his building, and he'd better pay on time. Starbuck jokingly complained that his first mate's badge means nothing to them, does it? Ishmael's immature reaction would seem to imply that it doesn't. Ishmael then spoke of people who wanted to bury their pasts, people living from one day to the next without dreams, without futures. People like her. Between every close call, between every moment of triumph, amidst the brutal trials they endured in solidarity, they began to sketch the rough pictures of their futures. She sketched something for herself too. In that sketch, she's walking alongside Queequeg in some small port shrouded in mist and the smell of fish, possibly with large textbooks in their hands, or carrying suspiciously well-maintained weapons, or just heading somewhere with their hands full of tasty treats for the day. They kept sketching how they'll continue to live for the rest of their days, how they'll persevere. Ishmael stared into her shimmering reflection, into the rippling and opaque river of acid, shrouding and surrounding the boats. Just as she stared into the lake back aboard Mephistopheles, her expression was so solemn and withdrawn that Dante couldn't bring themselves to even approach her. In the opaque waters, Ishmael saw herself, her future, that now rested forever out of reach in the cold abyss of the lake. Her friends that could never return. How it would feel to know that your dreams would never come true. Dante was too absorbed in that hazy, ruminating thought to realize that they're being approached by Ishmael and struck up a conversation. Dante made an offer to Ishmael, who turned around to them, to have them all go out and get ice cream together once that whole ordeal was over, and then go back to Mephistopheles. Yes, the ice cream that Don Quixote wanted. Well, it was worth a try, as they knew that it didn't matter what future that they brought up with Ishmael now, none of it would reach her. The most that could be offered was a hopeful, immediate tomorrow. Something closer to the present, and to the future that Ishmael was trying so hard to take back. Ishmael was asking, go back? asking Ishmael what will they do if she told them that she didn't want to go back. Dante asking what she meant. Once they destroy the heart and once she squeezes the life out of Ahab with her own 2 hands. And Queequeg was silent during this. Ishmael continued by asking what would she go back to? Why would she go on? Otis was asking if this was an official resignation request. Ishmael said no, and told her to forget it. Now, this worried Dante, where if Ishmael finally gets what she wants, what's next? Would there even be anything left? They asked if it was right for them to even ask her to continue on to the next. As in, get her to continue when she has nothing left to lose. Where she wants to die and stay dead. Yes. It would be an inconvenience for Virgilius to recruit someone to fill the slots for the damned dozen, but he'd do that if he needed to. But Dante would likely hope that it didn't come to that. Even though they can't resign, they can be lost without any hope of recovery. No red tape would be able to prevent that. He then spoke of Ishmael's headband. It was covered in blood, considering it a right terrifying look to him. Ishmael saw it as nothing a quick wash in water couldn't fix. Queequeg saw her headband. Familiar not, desperate's not. Ishmael explained that she survived by hanging onto the rope she tied to her coffin. The ropes that she couldn't hold herself. Yes, Queequeg couldn't do that. Well, instead, Ishmael had to hold onto them for dear life. Queequeg told her, "That rope, also for you." Then we see a vision of her past. When Ishmael was told to bucket oil out from inside the whale. This was clearly a less experienced Ishmael. Starbuck told her that it's not as hard as it looks. The cadaver of the whale hung from a hook and swayed from side to side. The stench was awful. The smaller and more nimble she was, the easier it'd be. Ishmael argued that she's not that small. Then Stubb was angered by this. It's a job for the less initiated regardless. Less talk, more oil bucketing. Telling her to get on with it. Clearly, this was from a time before he was a mermaid. Ishmael noted that a whaler's toil doesn't end with killing the whale. They also had to bucket and carry the oil from the dead whale. Ishmael asked how she'd know what's in there. Stubb angrily replied by asking what does she think? Whale oil feeds them, it keeps them warm. Stubb was the second mate, a man of irritable disposition. This made Ishmael nervous. Into that abyss with nothing but a rope that looks like it'd snap from the slightest breeze. It didn't inspire much confidence. She was about to say it when Queequeg showed up. Ishmael was asking what she was doing. Queequeg told her, "A rope. Tie it to her waist." Ishmael asking why. Queequeg replied, "Tethered like so. Now if Ishmael falls, she'll fall with her. She, her, together." Queequeg's sentences were stuttering and incomplete. But it oddly soothed Ishmael. Together, someone to catch her if she fell, someone to watch over her if she fell. So she tied one end of the rope to Queequeg's waist and the other to hers. Ishmael made sure that she understood to Queequeg. Ishmael thought it was funny that she should mention that. The rope was too short, too flimsy. It immediately snapped. She was sent hurtling down to the lard-filled belly of the whale, much to her displeasure and horror. What was harder to bear wasn't the entrails, the viscera, the oil, and the other things that she didn't want to think about. It was the pitch-black darkness. She was struggling to remain afloat. Whale oil makes a sound as it quivers and reverberates. The reverberating oil tries to become one with everything it touches. Some call this ultravibrofusion. Some call this oscillation frequencies, how they're used to make resonance tuning forks, their wavelengths and fuel. Okay, either UCorp utilizes the whale's properties to make the singularity, or they made the whales as a byproduct of it, while making the separate yet connected links with unwritten rules, as if it's some twisted party video game played by the UCorp by UCorp executives. Regardless, a whale's oil covers and devours any that it comes into contact with. When this happens, when the whale is still alive, it turns that person into a mermaid. If the whale is dead when this happens, however, your sense of self slowly scatters, until there's nothing of you left. She then laughed slightly crazily. It's when Ishmael realized how tiny and fragile she was, how insignificant she was, believing that the whales were just lonely. They carried within them the oil that had the power to turn others just like them. Possibly people are the same. Out of loneliness, they want to make someone, theirs. To paint them just like them. To fill them with things that make them. She doesn't know what made her. How she can possibly paint others like her. Even if she doesn't know what she was. Believing that she's shallower than the whale. She boarded the Pequod just because she wanted to live a life unlike those of others. Because life before was too boring. She was starting to give up on herself, asking what she even wants. In the dark, where the distinction of all things began to blur, she saw lights. A ray of light scattered through an opening. She saw a rope drop from there, a rope lowered from the heavens into that dark abyss. That rope she wanted to hold on to and live, because it was there, right before her. Queequeg called out to her, "Rope, hold tight." Ishmael was pulled up, and then Starbuck was shocked by this. Dying in that oil, there would have left nothing for anyone to remember. Where she recognized that she almost died, one of the most meaningless deaths in the city. Yeah, there are quite a few meaningless deaths in the city. Quite a variety of them. She was born again that day. The rope she held onto that day was the rope that could never be severed. Queequeg said that, "Rope, it snapped." Ishmael disagreed. They can make it whole again. They'll tie another knot. As long as they can make it to the heart, she'll be free. Queequeg said, "Once they drop there, They had to think one thing only, to not become mermaids. Doubting, hesitating, and pale begin to grow on skin, like whale oil. She thought one thing, to meet her again, to go on a new adventure with her. She had to escape, had to kill the whale, but to do that, she had to cut the rope, to not become mermaid. She think that's one thought. She think that's one thought again, and suddenly, she buried her. The whale heart, to kill it. She put her heart to sleep. Yeah, it appears that having two strong emotions focused inwards are what pallidification is encouraged by. Well, that's based on what Queequeg said. At the right ventricle of the Pallid Whale, it is noted that they were at the second atrium that Captain Ahab mentioned, where, according to Dante, it's the center of the heart. Once they get past there, then Queequeg approached them. Their name, she know. They call them Dante. Dante confirmed this. Queequeg noted that their words she can't hear, like whale voices, like mermaid voices. They bring back dead crew. As far as Dante was concerned, that's all they do. She noted that it's not just body death, heart death too. This confused Dante, as she wasn't, talking literally. She continued by saying that they don't make them lose their way, where they really want to go. They tell them with their clock sound. Dante didn't know what to think of this. Queequeg told Dante something she wish. She want Ishmael to find her way. Basically, she wants Ishmael to find something that's hers, as in not a path that Captain Ahab would lay out for her. Yes, she observed Ishmael having a look and an attitude that says she feels that she'll have nothing left to lose after this, and Queequeg wants Ishmael to find a life that's hers after this, whatever happens. And she's asking Dante for help for this. Yeah, I'm thinking that Queequeg got desperate, as she clearly doesn't know Dante that well. Yeah. From the way I'm talking, it's making it as if my expectations are about as low as Virgilius's. Well, it's at least worth a try. Dante understood that they just need to get past that abnormality. Then they can get to cutting the whale's arteries. Gregor seeing that they can get across that sinew-like bridge over there. Then Queequeg stepped in between them and the bridge. Ryushu said, HW, or how weird. What are you doing? Queequeg told her, the bridge made of flimsy veins. Ryushu told her, that way, original plan. With some irritation. Telling her that looks like the way, but no, not the way. Once one person cross, bridge snap under next. This surprised Dante. Urtis was first to put the pieces together. She understood that it was the path that was going to snap, and Queequeg knew this. Despite that, she led them there. That meant she was going to cross the bridge and drop them all behind her. Now this confirmed Heathcliff's suspicions, asking if it's that loony captain's orders. Queequeg told them that she said, "Sacrifice necessary. Can't go forward unless someone fall." She wanted to escape. She wanted to escape with Pequod crew. Heathcliff understood that Ahab saw them as acceptable losses on the way. Just like that. Queequeg confirmed this. Ishmael then asked why. Did she change her mind? Queequeg wanted to know. Now. Ishmael asked, "No, what?" Queequeg replied, "Her way. Her path." They then fought the Skin Prophets, an aberration of the Skin Prophecy abnormality. Now, while the Skin Prophecy abnormality was a tool abnormality, this aberration of it was a TEF level abnormality that was encountered in the Mirror Dungeon as an encounter, the Mirror Dungeon being its fort space usually. Now, this battle was a puzzle battle, as it counterattacked while the candles weren't lit. And when the candles were lit, it used more conventional attacks, and the candles were the ones that countered when attacked. Yes, it was attackable normally, as long as all the candles were lit. They repeated the cycle until it was suppressed, and then they could continue with their journey. In another vision of the past, Pip told them that he got bit by the whale when he tried to save him. Starbuck didn't see this as good. Why did that oil barrel have to fall on that oarsman? He didn't see any of that making sense. Making Pip a replacement oarsman. Pip then asks Ahab to tell him if Stubb is going to die. Ahab was silent for a few seconds. Then she reminded them of what she said. She then shouted that as long as they're her crew, none of them dies without her explicit permission. She doesn't remember giving them permission to die just yet. Stubb asked what will happen to. Ahab told them that the Pequod was on the brink of reaching the Pallid Whale of Hatred. All they needed was a good compass that will lead them to it. That mermaid before them will serve that role better than anything. Stubb protested that he wasn't a mermaid. You had to complicate this. She doesn't permit you to die, even if that'd be a mercy compared to what is intended for you. I mean, it might as well have been done on purpose, which for all we know, that might be the case. Starbuck was unsure of what to say at this point. Whatever that whale devoured would eventually turn into a mermaid. They know this. She ordered them to incarcerate that mermaid in the large cistern by the holds. Its instinct will drive it towards the Whale of Hatred. Ishmael was unable to speak up against this. Stubb begged her not to do this. Ahab then ordered Starbuck to send down a skiff. Ishmael asked, "What?" Now? He obeyed his captain's order. A few moments later, Ishmael heard a splash of water. All hands of the ship emerged from their stations and gathered around Ahab. And Ahab thundered. Who heard her? Who heard Stubb as well, telling them to listen well, for it is Stubb who spoke. To heed his voice, Pip listened in terrifying silence. Ishmael was questioning Ahab's actions, although not explicitly. Ahab told them that the voice of the great sailor Stubb echoed from across that lake. The great sailor Stubb, who so willingly threw his life in danger for the hunt of the whale. His speech would appear to indicate otherwise. More like you forced him into danger. Stubb was struggling to speak at this point. Then Ahab mentioned that due to this urgency, they had no time to bring him back aboard. Yet he lives. He does not die, though he's overboard, floating on the lake after that fateful battle. He would soon find safety aboard the skiff that she lowered for him. More like you condemned him to a fate worse than death, and using him as a lure to attract the Pallid Whale's attention. I didn't know they put a rabid dog in charge. She said he shouts, "Oh yes!" He bellows for their victory, and he bellows that they must go on. Sail forth to victory. No. Wrong again. He shouts mindlessly because that's what his behavior will be from this point onwards. This sickened Ishmael, asking what kind of insanity this... Queequeg then said, "We sail forth," with Ishmael questioning this. Then Ahab telling them that the voyage will soon meet its victorious end. Then she shall sail to the nearest port, where he shall await them. The great Stubb with a profound smile, he shall greet them. He will be rightly rewarded, and of course, they will all share tales of that long voyage over many sleepless nights. No. How can you be more wrong? He shall be a mermaid and be dead. His only reward... a face. Sorry. Yes, his only reward would be a fate worse than death. Stubb was in the process of pallidification, repeating, with a profound smile. Ahab then continued by saying, "And there you shall be made well. They will buy rounds upon rounds of drinks for everyone in the tavern in Stubb's name. Yeah, to honor his sacrifice." She then concluded by saying once their voyage was over, everything would come to be. Starbuck repeated, "Once this voyage is over." Queequeg said, "Once this voyage over." Even Stubbs said this while struggling to speak, adding to that saying, "The whale of hatred is finally in their sights," asking Ahab if she'll kill it. Do you even need to ask that question? She told the others to answer his calling. They will kill the whale of hatred. They will kill the Pallid Whale. All aboard! All aboard for the hunt for the evil. All aboard on the voyage to hunt the fonts of all the evils of the world, of the city, the hateful evil that pushes you to the brink of death. Well, they should start with you, Captain Ahab, as they wouldn't last 5 seconds against either an Arbiter or the Claw. Now, either of those two are part of the true font of all the evils of the world. All of their struggles, all of their injustices, all of their pains and losses. That very evil sprung forth from that very whale. So they'll kill it. They'll kill it and watch as the new dawn breaks upon a world that has been mended. Sorry. I think it'll take more than that to fix that up grimdark world. Much more than that. And that's just based on what's been covered so far. Queequeg shouted, "Aye." Ahab bellowed, "Shout below!" Starbuck shouted, "Aye, Captain!" Pip laughed nervously, saying goodbye to Stub, saying that they should meet again and again, perhaps knowing more than he's letting on. Stub shouted, "Aye." Ishmael then agreed that it'll all be over when they kill the Pallid Whale, when they kill the Whale of all evils. Then back in the present, Dante understood that all along, they've not only been trapped inside the whale, but also in her palms all along. Perhaps Dante knows that deep down, it's not a matter of if they have to fight Ahab, but when. As she's clearly too psychotic to be trusted, even less so than the currently mentally unbalanced Ishmael. Although, she's not as bad in that department as Captain Ahab. Because at least there's a possibility for Ishmael to be reached. Dante understood that Ahab's commands led them straight to her singular goal, the heart. They spoke that they've all been played by the captain from the moment they met her, as the Pequod's crew did, sailing for nothing, no one but Ahab herself. I can't really blame them for that. It's what her kind does. Uses others as tools for her own twisted aims. It's why there's an unwritten rule for dealing with people like them. Unwritten because it was created at a time where people were far less literate than today. And that unwritten rule is never trust a psychotic, psychopath, or sociopath. Treat them like dangerous animals. Always maintain a safe distance from them. Only then would you have any degree of safety from them. Heathcliff was asking if it wasn't just him that noticed what he was noticing, and Dante did. Understanding that Captain Ahab has the uncanny ability to effortlessly delve deep into one's heart, to fish out their deepest wishes. Yes, their desires, their hidden, desperate wishes, and this was the bait that was bitten into by those she targets. Getting dragged deeper and deeper into the abyss. Then Heathcliff said something remarkably profound. The broken clock being right for at least one time that day. Where it's basically bite the bait and sink with the captain, snared by sweet words with the tantalizing rope that she dangled right in front of them, not even knowing that you're slowly suffocating. Sounds like he speaks from personal experience. It also sounds like the difference between a thief and a scam artist. A thief doesn't ask for permission to rob you. A a scam artist does. Except in this case, it's not taking material wealth. It's the theft of the spirit, where she seeks to plunder what's within a person and leave them with nothing inside in the end, even if they were promised much in the way of material wealth. Yes, a classic deal with the devil. It doesn't always screw them over at the start, but it always screws them over at the end. Either that or the Jinn from the Wishmaster series, where he gives the one who makes a wish what they want, just not in a way that would ultimately benefit them. And that's assuming that the wish doesn't kill them. Heathcliff reminded Dante it's their job to fish her back up as Ishmael is sinking. Then Queequeg said, "Broke it. Captain's orders. Broke captain's orders. Can't see sunset again." Ishmael told her that she could. She'll see the sunset again, as long as she sailed her own path. Because they'll get to the heart no matter what. Then she was surprised, asking if they can hear it. The distant beating of the heart. Queequeg said, "The heart beating." Dante said, "It'll take them some time, but pay close attention to the heartbeat and feel their way there." They eventually felt their way there, and they found a light nearby. Sink there, feeling relief. Finally, once this was over, they can get out of there. Dante noticed that Ahab wasn't there yet. Then Ishmael asked if that was an abnormality ahead. Something twitched before them, an entity skewered by numerous fluorescent bars. She told it to get out of her way. Dante warned them that it was charging at them. It might have felt threatened when Ishmael grabbed her harpoon, as it leapt out of the lake within the whale itself that it was in, and began rushing towards them. Then they thought the source of more fluorescent tubes than a summer clubbing scene. The dream-devouring silt current. A war-level abnormality that's an aberration of the dreaming current. Based on its overall appearance, its drug-themed Egeo gift, which matched up to the backstory of the original abnormality. However, it's unclear if this abnormality was weaker than the original abnormality. If it was, it's likely not by much, as both are the same threat level. The Damned doesn't determine that the glow sticks needed to be broken to weaken it, and they did so. Then, after using its glow tubes against it in that way, they eventually suppressed this abnormality and moved on from that to their true goal. Where's Ahab then? Well, you'll need to watch the next part to find that out. Until next time. Hail the rabbit!